You went through my phone.
I'm a detective. I was detecting.
Hey Aaron,
Hey
how you
man,
doing today? I'm not
I'm
your
doing
Chambers.
well.
Good, good. I'm not your Chambers. I'm from Big Go Belt Media. Very excited to talk to you today. Congratulations on your new series revival coming to Sci-Fi June 12th and then hits Peacock a week later. How you feeling?
Crazy. Yeah, we're still finishing a show that's airing when the last episodes aren't done. So it's completely nuts, man. It's completely nuts.
Oh man, no sleep for the week, right?
Yeah.
I definitely want to start off with talking about some of the initial early conversations that yourself, your partner Luke had with the Image Comics folks, Tim and Mike. And the reason why is because if you had not heard of the comics, I'm sure that's where you're going to go after you watch this. And if you have heard of the comics and have read, then I'm sure you all have been anticipating this because there's so much to this series that I find a lot of people are going to enjoy it. Whether you're just a horror enthusiast, whether you're just looking for your next new watch, whether you're looking at characters that have so much depth to them. And then the one thing I really do find interesting is the relatability. Now, while we are talking about people coming back to life, but the sense of isolation, the looming presence of what we had as a pandemic, but for the same thing, the world had shut down, it had shut down there, and people adapting back into things and how familiar that is for one another. This is so much for folks to really gravitate to in this. But for you all, I'm just kind of wondering what was some of those early conversations, the excitements, some of the creative changes that you all wanted to take, or maybe even some of the suggestions that they gave to you all.
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you so much for those compliments. I'm so glad it was resonating with you, and it's a big reason why I wanted to be a part of it, right? But it started with, Luke Boyce, my creative partner, was good friends with Tim and Mike, had known them for many years. He had, the rights had become available. He got tied into those, and he was trying to make it as a movie for a very long time, and
Excuse me,
just
hold on
couldn't.
one second. I got to tell you, when I watched the first two episodes, that's the first thing I said was, "Damn, this could have been a movie."
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, I appreciate you saying that because
Yeah.
it's meant to feel cinematic. I mean, that's what we come from,
Yes.
right? So, like, Luke and I are indie filmmakers. We're indie horror filmmakers in particular. I produce, 25 features or so at this point.
Yep.
So
Yep.
there's a cinematic, there's a look and feel that we wanted to kind of go for, and that's what it started as. But then when he sent me the comic, and I knew some of Tim's work, I had read Hack Slash, I'd read some of his other stuff, but I hadn't read Revival. I'd heard of Revival. And then I got in, man, and I swear I read that first issue and I was like, this is the pilot. This is the pilot for a show. And so this of all the 47 issues, the first issue is the one that really is almost a one-to-one, pretty close to the pilot. And then we kind of veer off from there. But like there just was so much in the characters, as you were saying. He called it a rural noir, and I'm like, that's a really fun. It's a murder mystery in this like Fargo-esque world with like completely insane. I mean, in the comic, there's creatures, all kinds of stuff, and we may or may not delve into those later in the show. But like in this season, mind you,
Yeah.
and but all of that stuff put together, you throw it together, I was like, this is just really exciting. And I couldn't put the comic down. I wanted to keep going. And
Yeah.
so that was where it was. And then I was like, Luke, not only do I want to help make this, like I want to make this. Like I want to get involved. I'm gonna show run this. I want to create, I can see it. I want to write, I want to work on the pilot now.
Yeah.
I can see it. And so we started to get to it and brought in another writer, Michael Marisi, another comic writer, to do the pilot. And then we were kind of off and running from there. Yeah.
Well, I see you be at Comic-Con this year.
Yes, yes, we will.
Okay.
We haven't announced it yet, but yes,
Okay.
we'll be at Comic. It's fine. You can say it. It's fine. We'll be at San Diego Comic Con. Yeah, we'll be there. We'll have a panel. There might be some stuff tied to Image above and beyond that, that I can't quite say yet. That's very
Yeah.
exciting that they're doing. And we might have some stuff up our sleeve as well that we're
I'm
bringing
ready to
bringing there.
spend some money. That's why.
It's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be fun. It'll be my first San Diego Comic Con, so I'm extremely excited. Extremely excited.
Amazing and congratulations. Yeah, this one's going to kill. I have a big feeling a lot of people are going to be talking about this. And I
Mm,
watched a significant amount of it, obviously, in preparing for it. I didn't want to get too ahead because I wanted to like it's hard when you have to contain such energy and joy, but you can't share with anybody, and it's like
yeah.
torturing at a point. But I get to release that. I get to talk to you about it.
Mm,
But I don't even know how I even dance around this one. M probably becomes my favorite character on television in a very, very
mm.
long time. When you talk about the complexities with this character, and there's so many little things, and you can take the smallest things for granted, but understanding this character, what this character has been through, that we're trying to discover, what this character future looks like because of things, the family dynamic, because the sister is in full protection of her little sister, but the dad is very radical on the other side of some things. And then she's still trying to discover who she is. We see that she meets a partner who is kind of keen to some of the new things that's kind of going on with her. And then there's obviously some folks that got their sleeves rolled up, potentially looking for her, which could be tied to her past. That's a lot of sugarcoating, but because obviously this is your show.
Sure, sure.
How exciting is it to build a character that complex, but yet that fun? And then, come on now, the performance now of Romy is just top tier here. Just for you,
Mm.
what does it mean to see that character come to life and her performance behind it?
Oh goodness, I'm so glad you asked. Like, I mean, look, Dana jumps off the page because Melanie's so charismatic and she's so fun and so in the forefront. But when you really get down to it, Revival is M's story. It's her journey. That's who we're really following. That's really what this is so much about. And we searched long and far to find Romy. I mean, we looked at hundreds and hundreds of people
Mm,
because we knew I had to find someone that you want to protect. And there's a real journey that her character is going on, which you alluded to, but it goes even beyond what you're even talking about right now. And so it's like you take someone at their weakest moment
yeah.
and you care about so much, and then how strong are they going to become? And when we were developing the show, and there's a couple lines, and I will say this one line I will say is a little spoilery for episode one, but for future, when we were developing, and I said just this idea of saying I had to die to feel alive is to me like such a powerful, and we underlined it. It's literally in our documents that we sent to all the writers. It's like at the top, underlined, bolded. And I think there's so much about what that means, and that what happens with the Cypress family and the loss of their mother and the
Yes.
fracturing of that family, that like maybe that's their revival day, right? That's the
Mm,
day that the old versions of them died, and now what's left are these
mm,
these wandering around versions trying to figure life out. And once you find those types of connective things,
yep.
then all the craziness and all that is just like icing on top, because it's about the family, and it's about what's there. And some of that, a lot of that was on the page, started with what Tim and Mike did in the comic, but we really really focused on how do we make add more conflict, add more back, like we added the OI and the brittle bone disease and stuff. Those were things that we added to
Yeah.
it, and things just to like really build up the addiction background,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff that we built up, which is tied to my family and things I've seen. And so it's like all these personal connections that we had to kind of like really build up where M's journey is. But yeah, man, like she without giving stuff away, M goes to some places. It's crazy. It's completely crazy. But that was a lot of fun to kind of build off of.
Thank you for like how you broke that down, and obviously I feel we haven't spoiled anything there, so I think we did a great job. But one other thing I will say too, as you mentioned, because it is brought up a few times through dialogue within the Cypress family, is as the mother who died in a car accident, and the theme of grieving, because unless, and obviously you never wish it on anybody, but unless you actually have experienced that type of grief, do you understand that not one two persons grieving looks the same? And it's interesting because we know that a mother, a wife being removed from a family, and how that has to play parts into decisions that are made, addictions that could be, revealed, and other things of sort. So I love how no matter what's happening, it's constantly in the back of your mind to wonder, is that why Dana's overly protected of her sister? Because what's to lose her too after she's lost her mother, or the dad who seems to just always be on the opposite end of everything. Is this how he's just expressing himself? And then obviously with M and what had happened to her, or what we don't know that happened to her, what may have led her to make decisions she's made. I think is really, really powerful in all the different things that you said, the craziness
Mhm.
around for that to still be a complete part of a very important element of the storytelling.
Well,
Now,
yeah, I appreciate that. Well, I will say quickly, like, yeah, I mean, Wayne in particular, right? You think about his decisions of like wanting to move all the revivers away and like wanting to kind of like he wants to isolate. Well, why is that? Maybe the idea that people came back from the dead, but his wife couldn't, might be
mm,
that's a very painful thing for him to have to deal
mm,
with. So you don't have to say that stuff. You already hit on so many of the reasons why people are doing the things they are. And we want to give the audience the benefit of the doubt that like I think it's there, it's under the surface. He doesn't have to stop and say that, but he does say, because when you die, you die. He
yeah,
does say that. And to me, that he's talking about Patty. He's talking about his
yeah,
wife, you
yeah.
know? And so anyway, sorry, just to illustrate,
And
but I
and
think
and
you
true,
nailed
with
it.
death, a lot of people don't come to terms with it. You know, you still
Oh
have
yeah.
that hope that if you make that call, they're going to answer, or that holiday, they're going to show up. And I really love the construction of that character because I think it's very easily to paint Wayne as a villain or some type of a bad guy, but this could just be a man hurting and not finding direction in terms of how to resolve what he's going through. And then you have characters like Abel, who just is like, okay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what are
Well,
you really up to?
Well, and it's great because with Blaine, in the comic is a very different character, but he's a quirky guy. He's a weird guy in the character. But what we wanted to, I mean, the show's called Revival, and we wanted to
Yeah.
lean more into this fire and brimstone preacher, which he still was a preacher in the show or in the comic, but we wanted to go a little bit of a different direction and talk about, how hate is a learned thing and where does this come from, and that this indoctrination of people who start to follow ideologies and things blindly because they're scared. They get afraid of something that's different, and they start to other people and all this. And then in order to make sense of the craziness of the world, we will demonize, and
Mm.
sometimes even literally, he's calling them demons,
Yep.
the people that are different than us. And I mean, goodness, as today, especially what's going on in the world, you see this everywhere. And I just felt like there were so many parallels to that. And we
Yeah.
wanted to push that through. And I mean, I wrote a letter, man, to Stephen Ogg directly, to try to get him. I asked his agent, like, can we just get a Zoom? And it's like, well, he's done a bunch of big TV now. He doesn't want to do
Yep.
small stuff anymore. And
Yep.
I'm like, but I need him in this role. I'm telling
Yeah.
you. And thankfully he came on board. We really hit it off. And he just kills it. And where he goes to is another one that's like, yeah, Blaine's up to some shit.
Top tier actor. And if there's one thing we know he does well, he brings a comic book character to life like no other. This guy, man, I'm telling you, and he's
Yeah.
never the same person twice. I love some Stephen Hawk. A couple other things, I'm not sure how much time I got, but a couple of things I really want to make sure I highlight as well too. Production, as we said, this feels nothing like a television show. This feels cinematic from episode to episode, and I truly, truly, like I said, by the time I got to the second episode, I said, "Damn, this actually could have been a movie." But that's such a good feeling
Mm.
to have on your television screen, and I have love for both theatrical experiences and both television experiences as well. And with that production, besides visually. I mean, let's just keep it 100. We know your background, especially when it comes down to horror, the gore, the
Mhm.
special effects, the sound effects, and the music all play such pivotal parts in everything. Kind of keeps you on edge. There's a particular episode where there's actually a concert going on, and we have a particular person doing some things on stage, which was kind of the maybe the most jaw-dropping moment that wasn't a part of the story, but just visually that I was like, okay. Okay, Aaron, thank you very much. Just for
Yeah.
you being able to really get in your bag, to do what you do and to bring it to screen in that capacity. Just what was that type of excitement for you?
I mean, that's what I live for, man. I mean, this is like, well, first off, we start with like our motto's horror with heart, right? So we create that's the thing. We want to put the dollars on the screen. So
Yeah.
you'll like save money where you can in these small scenes, and then you'll push it hard and like, okay,
Yeah.
this is where our money's got to go. And I think that's how you can make a show feel bigger and how to streamline and do that. And that comes from my indie producing background and what's there. But yeah, man, like like that scene that you were alluding to, like you research stuff that happened like on stage with like Ozzy Osbourne and stuff back in the 80s. Like did a lot of crazy stuff, right? So I'm like, let's go for it. Like let's push this. And when we do have the gore, when we do have these moments, we're not gonna hold back.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, there's some crazier stuff that happens even beyond that,
Ooh.
going forward. But that's a big thing. I'm big in practical effects. I'm big in immersion, so like that's what makes it feel more jarring. And and we're airing on cable TV, and there's certain things that they want and they want to be careful about. And I was like, okay, well, let's find ways to balance it so that it can hit you, and then it can
Yeah.
be fun,
Yeah.
and have that tone kind of come in. So yeah, no, it's a vital part of what we make. It's going to be in everything I ever make. But that's what I loved about this. It's a murder mystery where someone's still alive, solving a murder. That's crazy. You've got the dead coming back to life, but they're normal. You've got these big practical effects. There might be something else really big practical effect coming later. You're looting all this stuff, but then you've got this show that like it zigs when you think it's going to zag. It's twisting you in all these weird places, and then it splatters you in the face when it needs to. So yeah,
Feels like a Guar concert, to be honest.
I mean that's we talked about that. We talked about what happens at a Guar concert when we were making that. Yeah, but real,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Two other
yeah,
questions really quickly. Also, I just got to give props to Melanie and Andy because when you do talk about balance, their work in their characters, obviously in resolve to and in discovery of what's all going on, but also finding moments to add humanity, humor, and some tension, which is something that like, it's like for me it's uncomfortable at times because it's kind of like, is this right? The quite moment, but at the same time, we're human, so we're going to take our chances where we can. So I
yeah,
do
yeah.
love their dynamic, and that's got to be the brilliance of you all and your casting team and putting them across from each other because it's like one of those type of things you didn't know you needed it till you had it, and they work very, very well together.
Mm.
Um, but then I take a look at some of your recurring guest stars, and one thing that really jumps out to me is CM Punk, Phil Brooks. I don't think I have yet seen him appear. Is there anything you can say about what his character is, and along with some other folks that's going to be a part of it, Conrad Coates and Nathan Dale, like any other folks you want to give quick nods to in terms of what we might be able to expect with them?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, CM Punk, Phil Brooks, knew of the comic. So when we were pitching the show, we knew there was a good chance we could probably get him. We could just work out the timing, So his availability. I mean, he has basically a pretty big episode where he's a focal point of that episode, and in that episode, we're like having to shoot him out really quick because his schedule's so crazy with all the wrestling stuff, and he had to get to like Survivor Series and get on a flight at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and we're wrapping, and it was totally nuts. But yeah, like I love that you mentioned Conrad. I mean, Conrad, I saw him in the last season of Fargo, and I was like, oh, this guy's so good. Like, there's such an interesting, he's got such a bravado, and he's also really tall and had this kind of like stature to him to like kind of go toe to toe with Wayne, which I thought was really fun to play Mayor Dillish. And that's a very different character from the comic too, So that was a fun thing to kind of play with. I would say Mark Little is a lot of fun who plays Brent. He's a really fun comedian. Like I think he's a blast. But yeah, Nathan Dales, from Letterkenny, who plays McCrae, just as we always say, the piece of shit McCrae, is what it is. Like every time, it's written in the actual in the script. It was like the piece of shit he is. McCrae is the first time you talk about him. So that all that stuff's really fun. But even like Lenore Zen, who plays Jeannie. She's the voice of Rogue, in the X-Men stuff, and like just has, such a fun presence. There's so many. Like, what was so amazing was that this is an ensemble of like 50 people, and we're just like running the gamut of like, and we cast a ton of comedians, a kind of really really interesting people that were like out of their normal comfort zone, and
Mm,
that was really fun because I thought comedians in particular could do if we had to improvise or because we're moving so fast, we want to create some natural opportunities for them to kind of have fun. So a comedian obviously is going to give way to that very nicely. But I also think they do such a great job with the drama. I've
yeah.
always felt that way ever since I saw Robin Williams in Awakenings and Doug Poets Society. It's like, oh, how is this possible? And that triggered something in my brain. And I've watched that for a
Mm,
while. And I really think comedians can really nail the drama. So that became, and Melanie's a perfect example of that
yeah.
as Dana. I mean, she We literally, I think two different times, like Luke and I, we looked at each other on set. We were crying in moments that were just so powerful from what she was able to do. And, and then she's also, I'm like also ruining takes because I'm laughing in the middle of a take. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, because she's so funny. So it's like you can find that duality. And we have the cast is people are going to fall in love with a lot of these people.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud, so proud of what we put together there.
You really, really should. I thoroughly had such a good time watching. I am going to finish it up now. Now I was able to release some of the tension I had in terms of the things I was feeling, the things I wanted to know about, and so on. I could just go on and enjoy. And then I go to Comic Con, and then I go celebrate with the fans as they will hopefully get to start to get hype and get prepared to be able to see this too. Because once again, you'll be able to check out the first episode June 12th. So by then, by the time we get to Comic Con, everything should be released by then. So it would be more of a celebratory period of this, and maybe we get some news of more storytelling to come after that.
Yeah.
So all good things in terms of revival coming to sci-fi once again, June 12th. They did give me time, but I do got to know. You have an update on the release for Shelby Oaks. I need to see this. I didn't get a chance to see it at Fantastic, so or Fantasia, I think it was.
Yeah.
But I need
Yeah.
to see this.
I can't say it is coming later this year. Neon should announce pretty soon. We did. Neon gave us. They asked once we finished the film. They were like, "Hey, we noticed some things in the script that weren't done. Is there anything else you want to do?" And I was like, "Yeah, we would love to redo this or this." I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like that's never a thing you can do in any
Yeah.
film." And Chris and I got together, and I was finished up the show, so I couldn't be there for some of the reshoots, but my team was. And yeah, man, it's so much better than even it was at Fantasia. I was so proud of it then. And yeah, it's man, it's a dark movie though, I will tell you. It's a different tone. It's a different tone than Revival.
Yeah.
But very, very proud of it. It's a really amazing film. It's going to release wide in theaters later this year. And yeah, Chris has killed it, and I'm so excited for the world to like see like this dude's legit. Like
Yeah.
legit. Like, I mean, when we worked on this thing for 4 years,
Yeah.
and almost 5 years when it comes out. Like it's gonna be crazy. So yeah, we're very, very excited. And yeah, I can't wait for the world to see it. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Aaron, thanks again for your time today. And once again, folks, Revival Sci-Fi, June 12th, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Pacific, a week later on Peacock. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you soon, buddy. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Take care.